Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics live Q&A on a Tuesday night ahead of round 17. It is Tuesday, the 2nd of July. For those listening back to the pod, I'm your host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Bales, and you can find me at BalesDT across all of the socials. As always, if you guys are tuning in live on YouTube or Twitter and would like a question answered or play you want discussed, put it in the live chat on either platform, wherever you're watching, and we'll get to those once we've discussed a couple of topics, and then we'll be able to answer a heap of questions. But joining me is both of my AFL Fantasy Fanatics, and I'll go first to, as always, it is Guesty, mate. How are you?
I'm good, Bales. Busy couple of days, but good. And yeah, I think it's going to be a bit interesting this week as we start to look at more luxury trades. And there's no real standouts. I mean, particularly for people that are probably got a completed team, so to speak. There's no real standout trading options. So yeah, it's going to get interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And even looking at the most traded in and out players of the week, it's very balanced. There's a lot of players sort of traded out by a few coaches, but as you say, there's no sort of not obvious target that people are jumping to this week. People have got a few players they're interested in. So it'll be very interesting to see what people do this week. And joining us is our other AFL Fantasy Fanatic. It is Jordox, mate. How are you?
Very well. G'day, boys. Yeah, it's at the point of the week where when you've had a stinker, you spend all of Monday whinging about it to anyone who will listen. But then Tuesday comes and you start looking ahead to the week ahead and all the endless possibilities of how you can redeem yourself. So bring it on, fellas.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it once again. But we sort of move to the key topics. I don't know if there is really particularly any. So if you boys want to chat about something, then feel free before we get into some questions, because normally we've got like an obvious thing to talk about, or someone that's out.
I got a couple.
Moment. Well, yeah. So we'll whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
So look, I've been working hard, right? Haven't been on the X today, so just wondering if there's been any updates with regards to like a Zach Fisher, or I mean, there's probably other players out there like a Matt Kennedy. Not that I have him, but I'm sure there's probably some coaches out there that might be interested in that. Just if there's any news out of today that either myself or the people listening may not have heard.
Sicily is probably the big one, and it's good news for Hawks fans and anyone that did jump on him in the last couple of weeks. He's come up really well from. I don't know if his shoulder was dislocated or they thought it was dislocated, but it's come up pretty well today, and he's going to be a test for this week. So
that's good.
You'd think he'd likely miss this week, but at least it's not, season over. And then Zach Fisher's really the main one that we're all worried about. And today's news wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. We're still we're not going to know till later in the week. It was a rolled ankle or something like that?
Something to do with a foot sprain or something like that.
Foot sprain, yeah.
I'm just opening the post.
We know how foot sprains go. I mean, we've seen young Colby McKercher miss, ton of time with a similar type of injury. So yeah, that'll probably.
So Zach had an incident where he twisted his foot in the second quarter. He presented with a midfoot sprain, which was sore Sunday, but is steadily progressing. So we'll assess his function at the back end of the week to determine his availability.
So Fisher's probably, his fitness could be the big story of the week and will dictate what a lot of people do. And I get the feeling we're not going to know until Thursday night. So a lot of people who have Fisher,
we may not even know then.
Well, that's true. They might name him up and then play some games with us. But the point is, you're going to have a plan A and a plan B if you're a Fisher owner, which a lot of us are.
Yeah, well, the good thing is for us is that North play the second game of the round. So if it does happen, we will know if Fisher's missing any time. So that'll be good. Well, Sean Lawson said in there, midfoot sprain, potentially sometimes you look at, he meant, sorry, typo, if you look it up, he said 2 to 4 weeks normally is a midfoot sprain. So interesting. If he's going to be named in or out, that'll be something to note. We just got a super chat here from Tim Ashworth as well. So thank you very much for that, mate. Powder Rosie or Jackson, Fisher, or Sexton, one of those to Caldwell. So Jordox, what would you be doing? Would you be going Powder Rosie, or would you be going one of Jackson, Fisher, or Sexton to Caldwell?
Jackson's so curious. It's so hard to get a read on him. My instinct says Jackson to Caldwell quite quickly out of that lot, assuming Fisher's fit. I do wonder about Sexton's role, what's going to happen with him. But on first sort of glance, I'd jump to Jackson to Caldwell being the obvious one.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, Fisher's out. Obviously, it makes a decision for you, but I'd agree. Tim, are you agreeing there as well? Is it Jackson Caldwell for you?
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
Why wouldn't he be thinking about Powell to Caldwell though?
I'm assuming can't afford. I'm assuming can't afford it because Rosie's 714 or something, and then you're looking at Caldwell's at 851 or something, and he's still got a low break even. So I think people that don't have Caldwell are going to want to jump on this week. We did get another super chat here as well from Chris. Thank you very much for that, mate. He said, "Can you fellas please tick off these trades? So going Fisher out to get Zorko." Have all rookies off the field and don't have the cash to go Sexton to Zorko. So if Fisher plays, are we happy to trade him if it gets Zorko? Or if Fisher's playing, we'd rather keep him and sort of do something else, Tim? What do you think?
It's a tough one because I feel like you really got to have Zorko. Although I'm not sure what his matchup is this week.
He's got the Crows.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Crows,
I think.
Okay. Yeah,
very
okay.
good
160 last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I kind of feel like you got to have Zorko in the side, right? But at the same time, I'm not that big on trading out Zach Fisher. I'm then kind of trying to think in my head, well, how are you feeling out your forward line? And then I'm wondering, well, what other options have you got there? So yeah, but that's kind of where I get a bit stuck, Bales.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Chris, let us know if you've got any other option to go up. But I guess I'd tick it off, especially because Fisher's going to be under some sort of cloud, and you get Zorko. Jordox, so what are your thoughts with it?
I mean, I just looked. It's only 20K between Sexton and Fisher. So, yeah, I'd be trying to find that 20K another way. But
if they're getting in a Lawson Humphreys, for example, as a downgrade, and then they're going up, would be happy to grab a 200K player that's named and then go Sexton up if that's what Chris could do?
I think that I would be looking at that if Fisher's fit, because Fisher fit, I'm much more convinced on what his role's going to be, whereas Sexton, we could see him move around a bit.
Yeah, I think I agree. We've got another super chat here as well. So thanks, guys. Appreciate all the people putting in these super chats. Very much appreciated. So Corey Blackledge is the next one here. Thanks, mate, for that. He said, who is the best forward in the 600K range out of Harry Mackay, Cozzy Pickett, Toby Green, and Taylor Adams, as I'm getting Frazier and Jackson Archer out. So I'm assuming it's the best he can get to. So, Tim, are you keen on any of those guys?
What were the players again? There was Harry Mackay.
Cozzy Pickett.
Taylor Adams,
and Toby Green. And Toby Green's who I've got. So,
yeah, look, Taylor Adams had a couple of good scores there. I don't know how else he's been going, but I mean, Cozzy Pickett's probably the one that's kind of, I would think has got the upside just with what's happening in that Melbourne midfield. But I'm not sure that we've got much past history to go on. To kind of, justify that.
Yeah, I agree. I almost think that the safest one is, funny enough, Toby Green, who I've currently got, but I'm looking at trading out this week. So if there was some way, Corey, you could swap someone into your forward line and bring in like a Tom Stewart instead, I'd prefer something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah. So that's
a forward, but
yeah, I mean that's a great point, right? You probably got a couple of like a Sexton or a Fisher that you could swing back and allow you to bring in a defender.
Yeah.
Or at least a midfielder.
Or a mid, yeah.
McKercher is 590K. I reckon there's a very good chance he's back. I know we've said that 2 weeks in a row. But if Fisher's out, that only makes the McKercher pick more appetizing.
I think that's the shout, what Jordox just said. I think that the number one kind of player under 600K is Colby McKercher.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
Provided he's playing, but I think he would be. I think they've eased him back in enough. I think they'll be ready to roll him out this week.
Yeah. Actually, looking at it now, I think if you want to go someone that's been pretty good all year, I think Harry Mackay is probably the one that's been pretty good, and he's almost playing that backup ruck role, so he's got that little bit of extra floor there for you. So Corey, if you're looking for someone there, because he said he does have Dowling as his last rookie, so he's probably trying to save as much cash this week to then go Dowling or someone up next week and get a better player. So, yeah, tough one. Final super chat here. We'll do this one. If we get any super chats, we appreciate everyone doing it, but we'll just get on to another few topics and stuff. So if you do send one through, we will get to it. So Tim Ashworth, this is a bit of a different one. Does anyone have any cats as pets? Well, I do, and it's very annoying. So, but Tim, Jordox, any cats in the household?
No, mate, no. I lost my Pooch, my 10-year-old dog, just a couple of months ago. That was devastating, mate. It was like losing a bloody family member, you know?
Yeah. No cats for me. I grew up with cats and dogs, but I'm very much a dog person. We've got the one puppy who's big buffhead and keeps us very busy.
Jordox, would you agree? One of my friends always said to me that cats don't have owners; they have staff.
Yeah.
My favourite saying around dogs and cats, and we really are off topic now, is, and it's a serious one for me because I usually make jokes. It's be the person your dog thinks you are. Your dog looks at you and thinks you're the most incredible person in the world.
Yeah.
Be that person. Anyway, probably a little bit serious for a Tuesday night, but
yeah, no, there we go. Beautiful. But nothing. Appreciate those super chats there. Thank you very much, guys, for those. But yeah, so Jordan, you said you had a couple something you wanted to chat about as well.
Oh, something we talked about the other night, and you were pretty
Samberry.
Yeah. Oh God, I could talk about Samberry and my team. I'm going to need help with my team. Just flagging that now because there's a saying again that if you fail to plan, you are what?
Planning to fail. That's right.
And I just haven't planned my team and what it would look like coming out of the buys. So this round just gone, was a stinker, and I've dropped my ranking substantially. But I'm in a real rut because I've got a kid on the field, and I thought, yep, all right, let's upgrade him. No cash. Here is no cash. I got no idea what I'm going to do. So I might be looking at bringing in like Jai Simpkin, who people are looking at getting rid of, but McKerch is probably the one.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the question: who in the 600 to 650 range? Because I think I can spend 660. Is the best bet, and all I've landed on is McKercher and Simpkin.
Well, if you need help, Jordox, Bales is doing these Ask Me on Q questions where you can send in a screenshot of your team.
I should do that.
Yeah.
I should do that. He ignores my messages during the week, so maybe if I...
But no, that's sort of, we'll just quickly plug that then. If you do have a question on Q and you want it answered a bit more in depth, then sort of what we can, what I can give you either on the Q&As or just as an individual message anywhere, then head to Ask Me on Q, spelt qu.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. You can send through screenshots of your team now, I think, as well. So that's just been a new feature being added. So as the boys were saying, you can send that through, and and I can answer that for you if you so wish for that one. So make sure you hit that up.
I've got something. I do have something beyond my side, but because of the position I'm in, I am starting to think, is this the time to do something super bold? And I brought this up on our chat on Sunday night. I said I was a bit worried about Max Gawn. I know you weren't, Bales, but just watching him these last couple of weeks, and it's hard because the guy's averaging 120, so I'm not throwing shade on him, but he has pretty much shouldered the ruck load all season by himself. And the last couple of weeks, I watch him. The thing I love about Gawn is you'll have a stoppage, ball goes up, he'll tap it. The ball moves sort of off screen a little, and then in comes Big Gawn. He hunts. I've been watching him the last couple of weeks. After he's done his tap out, he's just kind of hands on hips standing there. He looks cooked. So I guess the question is, do people look at going Gawn down to any number of the other guys that are killing it? Cherry's killing it. Grundy was obviously quiet on the weekend, but he's been killing it. You got Marshall and English who are going to be underpriced for what they've been doing. you could even go further down and find some real nuggets. Is that something to consider, or is it just no? Don't bother there. Look elsewhere at a unique way to make money.
I'm probably not looking at doing that just because I'm offended on. But sort of the first thing is that if you go down to a Cherry or a Marshall, it's not actually making a lot of cash. It's only going to get you maybe 60, 70K, if that, I think. So
yeah,
that's the only reason that I wouldn't look at doing it. But the second thing is that Gordon has had 2 buys this year. So he might have looked a bit tired this year, but he hasn't played well at the Gabba, I don't think, in previous years. And he hasn't got a good record up there. So I sort of think that it's almost been as well like the games after his bye, he's looked a bit sort of like he's almost still in buy mode and takes him like a week almost to get back into it. Like he looked like he was still on buy last week in a way. As you see, he's doing the hit out thing, he only had the 9 disposals, which I'd imagine has been a season low for him. He didn't really get much of it. But I think against West Coast at the MCG this week where he averages quite well, and the fact that he's still the number 1 averaging player, I think it's and because he's highly owned. Yeah, and because Flynn's out, or likely to be out. I think he's a test actually this week from what I saw, but I don't know if he'll play. Sort of what happened on the weekend, but I could see Gorn massive. I think could bite you more. But
and maybe it's less about the specifics of Gorn. He was just the one that sticks out, but it's more about that philosophy of finding someone. I mean, you did it yourself. It was a brilliant move about 6 weeks ago. You cut Sheasel because you were able to make money from that move, bring in Luke Ryan, and also, you knew that role was shifting. So, maybe Gorn's not the great example, but it is the time of year to look at players who are well-priced, and you think might just dip, and because they're so commonly owned, it's a good way to get advantage as well.
So here's what I'll say about it, Jordan.
I was just going to say quick one thing. That's what Roy did last week with Luke Ryan. He was priced up in the high 900s, went to Whitfield, and he made like 100K from it because Whitfield went up 60K and Ryan lost 40K. So, as I say, you can definitely do it. But, sorry, Tim.
So I think the big thing with Gorney, it's actually got more to do with real football than fantasy, and I think it's that Melbourne's season's pretty much cooked. And I think, he's really been able to shoulder the load and really lead from the front in that first half of the season. But now that their season's cooked, I think we'll see him start to trail off. The only thing, so I do think it's a pretty good shout. The only thing that I'd say about it, Jordox, is I just don't know that the differential that you're going to see is going to be big enough in that ruck line between like a Cherry, a Grundy, a Gawn. Like even if Gawn trails off, he might average 100. That would be him trailing off. Even if it was 95 or 90. And on the flip side, I mean, a Cherry or a Grundy or they might only average 105 anyway. So you're just not, you're not getting that kind of differential. But it is the shout. It is the thing for us to be looking for.
I think what Bale said about, and he's right, Marshall, Sherry, Grundy as well. Yeah, it actually wouldn't be worth it. It would need to be, a perfect example would be a Tom DeGoning who's 769K. So what's that? On its way to 300K. Yeah. For a guy whose output has been pretty decent. So you might shave 10 points off that spot, but that money could help people in my position.
It could be someone like this,
field, but don't have the money.
A Sam Walsh. He's got GWS, Western Bulldogs North, and Port Adelaide. Now, even though Western Bulldogs North don't sound like tough matchups, they are kind of difficult matchups for inside mids. It could be someone like him getting off him. Exactly right. So that and then even playing Port. Do you think he'd get attention at playing Port as well?
I think there is a possibility he would because he played so well against Port last time.
So that's 4 games. You might be able to go from a Walsh down to a Rosie. And, I mean, surely, what's that? That's got to be a couple 100K, 250K.
Just over, 230, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the runs here. So that's Carlton. Have got a tough run for inside mids. Gold Coast have got a tough run for inside mids. Geelong a little bit. Melbourne have got West Coast this week, but then after that, they've got a tough run. So that's, we might have to be careful with an Oliver. Richmond, for those who've brought in Timmy Taranto.
Tough run.
Yeah, so Yeah, I mean, that's just the ones that kind of really stand out anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then even of the other guys that are sort of expensive, obviously you're not trading a Flanders and Goulden, you're not trading either. And Goulden could be massive this week against the Saints at Marvel. So yeah, but no, yeah, it's definitely something to look at because some people have either been unlucky bringing in red dots or someone's been injured and stuff, and it's just built up, the cash on the bench. So you've got to sort of think, okay, well, how can I get this 200k there? So, and as you say, Rosie's a good example. Even one guy we could probably flag as well as maybe Nick Martin, who's 870 odd. You go down to a Tom Stewart, for example, you make yourself 200 odd K because this role was shifted for Martin, whereas Stewart would potentially shifted as well. He might be playing as midfielder based on what happened last game. So, but then again, Martin's got Collingwood this week, so that could be a good score, sort of regardless of wherever he plays. But no, definitely something for coach to think about.
Something I've got to look at because I've got to find a way to get cash this week. So
here's one for you though. What about going back to your Max Gawn one, Lloyd Meek? His run is sensational. Like he's got Geelong and Fremantle, they're bright green. Collingwood, that's kind of middle of the road. Then Adelaide, GWS, Carlton, all bright green matchups. And then Richmond, who is the only difficult matchup in the next 8 rounds.
What's his price?
$7.92.
I'd go him over to Coney just because Coney missed last week.
Yeah. I mean, the small concern with Meek is at any point. Reeves is still there, but I think his season.
Isn't he injured?
So
isn't Reeves injured?
Yeah, he had a back injury or something. I'm not sure.
I don't know,
but all I know is, like, for example, was it Brisbane game? Meek, I think, got injured, and then he was fit, but then Reeves was back in. So they're not completely sold either way. But as it stands, that run, like you said, is really strong, and Meek's got. He went 3 tons in a row for a period there, and tonned up on the weekend against the Eagles. So
Reeves is ready to return. That's the only thing this week.
Yeah, there you go.
But whether he'll be back in or not,
I mean, I think whoever has the spot kind of has it.
Yeah,
it's just if there's an injury or then they have to win it back again. It's an interesting spot. It's a whole nother conversation. But Hawks have 2 very good rucks, and they still haven't. They still don't know which is their number one.
Yeah.
And you could be interested in that boat.
Could you dare go down to Jordan Sweet?
He's got the spot. Maybe I should. Maybe that should be my final way of going down in a ball of flames.
And a blaze of glory, yeah.
Blaze of glory. I haven't touched Sweet all year. Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, we got another super chat. So thank you very much to Kobe here. He said, "I've got Yeah, I know exactly. No, it's fantastic. Thank you very much, Foz. Very much appreciated. He said, "I've got Fisher in defence. Do I trade him or Phil with Draper?" And I can only assume that that's Josh Draper as a defender. If Fisher's out, you got to trade. I think you can't be playing Josh Draper on field. He's getting 20s and stuff. Are we all in agreement with that?
If he was playing early,
if he's out, you got to trade.
If he was playing first game Saturday, Draper, of course, have a look. But he's playing Saturday night, and I think he's been better, Draper. But
the other thing I'd be saying is try and get Fisher out of your defensive line.
Put him in your forward line.
See if you can rotate him back into your forward and see if you can upgrade someone or to a premium defender.
Yeah, he scored 73, so I think that's why. Kobe is contemplating it. Draper scored 73 on the weekend. So, but Saturday night he plays. Unless you can work it out that your trades on a Sunday when a North playing.
It's the first game on the Saturday for North.
Nah, well then you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's a trade.
Perfect. Alrighty, well, I think we'll get into some of these other questions that people are flying through. So if you guys are watching live on YouTube or Twitter, then send us through your questions on the live chats, and we'll get to as many as we can for the remainder of the show. Let's have a look at this. So Red Lightning's got the first one. He's saying, should I trade Travis Boak or my last rookie? What rookie downgrade should I downgrade to? I can only get Boak to a max 860k player I won't get the last rookie off field next week. So that's interesting. So yeah, so are we keeping Boak and getting this rookie up now, or if they go to or would you? Yeah,
you're keeping Boak, right? Like, I mean, I know he had a Spud score of a 45 on the weekend, but look, I mean, apart from that, his floor's been closer to 70s. So, I think that's much safer than a rookie. And I don't know of any rookies at the moment that you'd think would, be reliable to score a 70 or maybe even a 60. So, I think you stick with Boak, get your rookie off, and then look to upgrade him next week.
An 860s, that's not bad. You'll find plenty.
There's options
in that range.
I'm a big fan of an option that is just below that at 857. Midfielder.
Who's that?
Andrew Brayshaw.
You are hot on him.
I looking at his scores.
That's a good That's a good shout as well for someone who's a little bit back in the ranks.
Yeah, he's been a bit obviously down this year, but the last 3-4 weeks, his CBA numbers are definitely one of the top 2 in the team. And he got the 130 the week before last, which against Gold Coast, who have been a tough midfield matchup all year, and then he got an 80 against Sydney in a very low scoring game, and Freo didn't really chip the ball around and sort of go through the middle. It actually went out wide, so that's why Jeremy Sharp had such a big game and guys like that. So I just think Richmond, he got a 125 against Maryland in the year. He's then got Hawthorn and Melbourne. He's then even got West Coast, Essendon and Geelong after that in the 3 games. Port and Giants to finish or something like that. So you can trade him at around 22. I just think at 857, I think a bit of value. I'm keen on him, but hasn't been traded in by many people. So hopefully it stays that way and I can get a bit of unique there. So what do we got here? So Calum Fife has got this one. It's got a few options here. So I'll go to Jordox for this one because I know better. Which option is the better option? I'm thinking option 1 is Sexton to Luke Ryan and LDU to Rosie. And option 2 is LDU to Rosie as well, but it's Fraser to either Myers or Rankin. So you're looking at what is it? You're looking at I think you got to upgrade the rookie, don't you, Jordox? It's got to be Fraser,
I've just found it. I've just found the question so I can look at it on paper. So Sexton to Rosie's in both. Sexton to Ryan, LDU to Rosie, or I mean, geez, I wouldn't be jumping on Luke Ryan at the minute.
He's seen who's got in the next few weeks. Look what Nick Newman did last week. And Luke Ryan actually went 161 against Richmond when they played last.
Yeah, so maybe get Jordan Clark. I don't know, Luke Ryan. Don't ask me about Luke Ryan. But no, to get your last kid up to a Myers or Rankin, I think is a smarter option. So,
Who are you picking?
You want consistency, Myers. If you want razzle dazzle and a good time, Rankin.
I would love to say Rankin and sit here and say it. On Myers on that one. Yeah, I think Berry will go to Rankin this week. People are talking about Dawson. I think they'll know that Dawson can go essentially anywhere. I think Rankin. Look what he did last week. He essentially won the game for the Crows, and his first half was big. And then I think Crows have actually got like 4 games in a row where there's a tagger playing in that game. It's like St Kilda's the week after. I could see Windhager going to.
Everyone's got a tagger, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. But Myers isn't going to get tagged, I don't think. So,
do you reckon Berry is the right fit for Rankin? I don't know.
I think you could still do it. Berry's tagged everyone.
Yeah, Berry can tag anyone, at least.
Yeah. Interesting. It'll be an interesting watch.
But option 2, Calum, is where we land.
Yeah, I'd be agreeing as well. And he's also Callum's also asking about Cherry will be a good VC option with no Witts playing this week. So yeah, that was another bit of news. Especially for draft owners of Jared Witts, he's not playing. He's fractured vertebrae. So Darcy Moore's taken out a couple of people with that knee in a couple of weeks. Just innocuous incidents there, but annoying for me as someone that doesn't have Cherry and everyone around me's got Cherry. So but he will go quite well this week, I think, against Moyle. But then again, I thought that about Marshall, and he sort of just got a low 100, so you never know. John Latassa has said, targeting Caldwell. Yes, I still don't have him. Who goes first, Sexton or Simpkin, Tim?
This is a really good question, right? So I've been kind of contemplating this myself. I mean, my forward line, I've got the top 4. But then I've got Fisher, Sexton, and then I did have, I had Fisher sitting in the defensive line and Simpkin as well. And I was kind of throwing up between who to trade out between like a Simpkin or a Fisher. I think, obviously if Fisher's fit, I think I'll definitely keep him. But then, it was kind of a bit of a decision between a Sexton and a Simpkin. So, look, I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm a bit teased by the potential, the role and the potential ceiling of the Simpkin, but he just doesn't seem to be scoring, even though he has the role.
Yeah, well,
What do you guys think?
Both have got tough runs. So Sexton's got North this week, which is okay, but then they go into Port Adelaide up at People First Stadium. Then they've got the Giants at NG Stadium, and then they've got Brisbane. So that's a bad 3 weeks after. And even Simpkin's got Gold Coast, who we've said have been tough for midfielders this year, as then goes into Sydney at the SCG. That's not a good matchup. And then he's got Carlton at Marvel. So it doesn't get any, and then Geelong is a bit easier. So sort of the next 3-4 weeks for both, and then we've also flagged as well that Blundstone. So that's still again a bit of an iffy stadium, but
that doesn't help John at all though. Both have got.
I know it's funny because both have got to go, and when you look at Sexton, Lockie Weller's probably 3 weeks away as well. So I feel like I'd go Simpkin out first because it will be easy to get Sexton to someone next week, like a sideways, because he's still in the 700s, where Simpkin's down the 600s. And if you spend your cash this week, you might not be able to get Simpkin up next week.
Yeah. I think the way I'd split them is one, I'm quite convinced in their role. The other, I'm not. However, the one whose role I'm not convinced on has been scoring okay anyway. So Sexton has had a slight shift since Power come in, and he's still taking kick-ins, and he's just still getting around. Yep, which helps. Whereas Simpkin had the role, but he's just not scoring, like Tim said. I think it'll turn for Simpkin, but I think getting rid of Simpkin now makes more sense because, like you said, Bales, there's more cash sitting on Sexton's head, and Simpkin, for Simpkin owners, this is a really big week. He either goes 60 again and it's a failed pick and you'll be frustrated, or he'll pop a 90 and you'll think, okay, that was worth the investment. So hard to know, but out of the two, I'd be dropping Simpkin.
Yeah. What do we got here? Kobe Pembers also said so many good VC options this week. Gawn versus West Coast, Sarong versus Richmond, and then you've even got Ryan against Richmond. Yeah, but then you've also got Merritt on a Friday night against Collingwood. There's a lot of good options, which I will definitely be discussing in my Captain's View on Thursday, and then we'll also chat about that on the pre-lockout chat on the Friday. One Man Band says, which two should I trade in out of Whitfield, Caldwell, and Rosie, Tim? Hard one is they all have low break-evens, and I like Rosie's price. So if you got to pick two of those three...
I'm actually leaning towards Rosie and Caldwell.
I agree.
So Rosie just with the value, and then Caldwell because I think, being that he's, I'm not sure where he'd probably sit now. He might even sit like an F2 and F3 or something like that. But he's definitely in that top four. So, I think you got to have Caldwell because of that positional kind of value, and the value of Rosie.
Yeah, and I think you can target Whitfield next week.
Port have got a pretty good run as well, haven't they?
They've got a decent run over next year. So they've got Bulldogs this week. Then they go into Gold Coast. So a couple of those matchups there. So it'll be interesting to see how they do go. But then Whitfield will get the Chin Cotter tag. I would imagine so. So you probably want to wait till that's gone because then he's got Richmond next week, and that could be big. So maybe Whitfield next week, and you get Caldwell and Rosie in. So yeah, I agree. Exceptions: Caldwell or Merritt VC, Sarong in if I still have two rooks on field. I'd still be going Merritt VC, but we'll probably have a bit more of that. Look at that later on in the week there. What do we got? What's the next question? So Tony Ford needing an F6 to replace Dowling on field. Looking at Elijah Hollins or Ollie Dempsey, budget of 682K. So could you bring in an Ollie Dempsey who's gone 3 of his last 4 tons, or Elijah Hollins who's been pretty consistent getting those 80s and sort of ranging between 70 and 95 for the last bit, Jordox. Any interest with either of those two?
Yeah, I mean, they're both fraught with danger, but that's where we're at with F6 at that price. And yeah, I'm in a similar boat, as I said. So you can't discount anyone at the moment. Elijah Hollands, he's been really consistent, hasn't he? Hasn't really ever gone. Well, he hasn't, apart from his first game, hasn't gone over a ton once, but a nice sprinkling of 70s into 90s and 80s. So it's not bad. And then the other one, Dempsey, I mean, at first thought, it's like, no, you can't. But if you're looking at bringing in Colby McKercher back into your side, why wouldn't you look at bringing a guy like that back in? 3 out of 4 scoring tons. So I don't mind it.
And Dempsey's next two, he's got Hawthorn this week, then he's got Collingwood. So a couple of okay, and he played 95% time on ground last week. So clearly he's got that wing role and playing high time on ground. It feels dirty bringing in a rookie again. But
yeah, I wouldn't be doing it, hey. I think McKerch is a lot different to an Ollie Dempsey.
Yeah. And wingers can be very sort of fluctuating.
Look, I traded out Dempsey last week, and I'm a bit devastated. Obviously, trading him out before he had another ton, but I had 2 of those 3 tons that he had, and I mean, I traded him out purely and simply because he could drop a 40 or a 50 this week and the next week. So once again, I'm trying to think in my head whether the person that's asked this question might be able to use a bit of DPP or something like that, because at that $600,000 price mark, where you've got the best options is in defence, like a Tom Stewart, a Colby McKercher. I think that's where you should be trying to hunt rather than if you can.
Definitely. Yeah, but if we are staying in the forward line, there's another guy I'd like you to consider, and it's fraught with danger again. But James Harms, he got injured and then he played VFL, so he's a chance to be in this week. And yeah, it's a bit of a dirty one as well. But his last 4 games before the injury, he went 84, 72, 134, and 101. It's not a bad run. And then the other guy, similar, is Taylor Adams, who's now put together 4 consecutive good scores, 80s and 3 80s and a ton. So there's a few other guys in that price bracket that I'd probably like over Hollands. Hollands, my only fear is, I don't know what the fear is with Hollands, that it just can't continue. I don't know why I think that. Chair is back, but I don't know. What do you reckon, Buzz?
What I'm thinking what Tony could probably do is if he's got a premium in another line that's not happy with, instead of just going to these halfway guys like a Hollands or a Dempsey or someone like that, I would go, I'm just going to use Nick Martin as an example, but it could be someone else. 870, you go him down to Tom Stewart and you go rookie down, you pocket yourself 300K, and then next week you can go another rookie down and then go that other player all the way up and get a fully fledged forward premium. So I'm assuming, whoever Tony doesn't have, he could be looking at a Rankin, Moore, Myers. If he doesn't have a Caldwell, Zorko, Heaney, Flanders, whoever he doesn't have, that would be what I'd be looking potentially at doing instead of just bringing a Hollands or a Dempsey. But then you could look at the other way and go, okay, I'm just going to get a rookie off field, get Hollands, and I can always upgrade Hollands next week. So maybe you do that as well. So I think there's a couple of plays there that you could look at Tony doing. But yeah, if you're picking one, I'd go Hollands, but then also Adams, even Toby Green as well. A few guys around there that could be okay options as well. Jim910 says, what are your thoughts on Sam De Koning? Looks to have this ruck roll, just looking to get my last rookie off field, but I'm really tight on cash. I only have about 500K to spend. So Jordox, thoughts on Sam De Koning is about 450 or 460 or something in the defensive line. Is that ruck? Any interest?
Yeah, I mean, why not? He scored a ton last week in the role. It looked like a really, really bad call from Geelong, but they doubled down with it this week. Conway's injured. Stanley's been an emergency. They clearly don't want to play him. So, yeah, for 470K, if you're desperate, anyone that plays ruck and is even half decent at it, there's 10, 15 points inbuilt for hit outs. So at that price, I think it's worth a look. What do you reckon?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you're saying. I was looking for the questions for the next one. So apologies for that, mate.
No, I was just saying, it seems nuts that Geelong are doing this, but Conway's injured now, and they clearly don't want to play Stanley. Blitzarv's kind of half ruck and maybe tag and maybe not. So if they're seeing this as something that DeConing can do for $470K, I think it's not a bad. I mean, it's not ideal, but if that's where you're at, that's where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. So you might have to do what you got to do, I guess. Mr. Bard says, hey, all new here. Well, firstly, welcome. We always like new listeners there. So thank you for Mr. Bard there. And make sure you subscribe and do all that good stuff. That'd be very much appreciated. Sean Lawson, I did think I recognised the name. So he's obviously currently ninth coach of Henry's Heroes. So he said he was just saying he has more important things to do than, I think, was he saying trade Gawn? His record at the Gabba last 2 years is average. Watch, though. So, yeah, so no, that's Sean's thoughts there. We got here. You're good, Tim?
All right, Timmy?
Yep.
Oh, I thought that was funny.
Thought I was on mute.
Sounded interesting.
Yeah.
I was actually rolling my back out. I got a bit of a sore back, so I'm kind of like laying on the floor. I thought I'd better clear that up just in case,
I was going to say
with our history.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. Nate Simons, I still don't see the point with the VC. Can someone please explain? So it's just you get a double shot at your captain score, at your double score. So a lot of people do it before they got a red dot on their bench. They'll put the VC on someone that plays before that red dot. If they get a score that you're happy with, you then put that red dot on the field. You put a player on the bench and you put that player emergency and you captain the red dot. So you get the double score of the VC. So that's.
I love this question from Nate because I spoke about this with someone during the week. The VC was introduced in another world many moons ago where rolling lockouts didn't exist. You would do your team on a Friday. And once that Friday night game kicked off, that was it. You couldn't touch your squad. You couldn't change emergencies. You couldn't change anything. So the VC was the original concept of the VC was if you are so unlucky that your captain is out, you should still get a chance at double points. So you set a VC. Now here we are 15, 20 years later. It's completely obsolete. And I don't see the point of it anymore. Other than giving everyone a double dip at the captain score, which, depends who you ask, depends on the week, but I just think is silly. Why are we getting two shots at a captain? We should just pick one, and that's it. Anyway, I didn't realize I'd get so worked up. It doesn't mean that much to me, but it is.
You go back to full lockout.
No, rolling lockouts are here to stay. They will never change, particularly with the sub rule that we are hoping the AFL change next year. But as long as the sub rule exists,
Warney was saying that he's got this feeling that
it
might not be.
I think we're just seeing more and more coaches speaking out about it, and I've got a good feeling about it that it'll be gone. But rolling lockouts here to stay. There's too many late changes. It's too much a part of the game now. But it's one or the other for me. If you keep the rolling lockout, VC is. What's the point of it? So
they base the decisions on the survey. So if people don't want the rolling lockout, you got to go on the survey because last year again it was still majority of people want the rolling lockout. So it's obviously a lot of the coaches on that we hear like sort of people putting through questions on the podcast that don't want it. So if you don't want it, then make sure you put it in the survey and get rid of it next year. But just with the sub quickly,
so, I actually think it's not the guys that listen to the podcasts. I think you'll find. You've got to keep in mind there's 160,000 people play AFL fantasy, and there's probably only 5,000, maybe 10,000 listen to podcasts. And I mean, I meant traders.
I meant the people that don't listen to podcasts. Sorry, that's I did. The people that don't listen to podcasts, the ones that want the rolling lockout. With the sub, I still think there should be a rule that a debutant cannot be named the starting sub. But anyway, we go down.
I think they're just going to get rid of the sub, so it just eliminates all of those complexities.
So really quickly, just before we move on, Tim, rolling lockout or Friday night lockout?
Look, I mean, I'm clear that it's rolling lockout and it's never going to go back. But if I had my choice, it would be a lockout. I don't really care whether it's Friday or
Saturday morning.
I don't give a shit. But look, I mean, for me, I guess I'm a bit like the traders and stuff. I got kids. I got businesses. I'm busy. People play sport. Like it kind of it makes it really, I think, the people that win are the people that basically can dedicate, fucking 24 hours a day to footy. And I think that just really limits who can then win.
Yeah. Alrighty. Simon Stacks. Boys, who goes first, Simpkin or Rivers? Jordox.
Question.
That's a great question because I actually like Rivers better. But
you probably get the better options.
If I'm upgrading Rivers, it's like, well, where can I'd love to go shopping for a defender. If I'm upgrading Simpkin, I'm just going to get another player probably like Simpkin. So probably Rivers based on that. But I really like his role. I wouldn't be scared off by his score last week. He still had the CBAs, and I think Melbourne will persevere with that role.
Yeah. Tim, Ash Hutchinson's got this one. Who would you go, Brayshaw or Merritt?
I think you'd have to go Merritt. I think you have to go Merritt. But look, we talked about Brayshaw as being a bit of a point of difference, right? That particularly for a coach that's maybe looking to make their way into the top 100 or 1,000 or climbs the rank, Brayshaw could be a really good shout.
Yep, and hopefully that's my ticket to getting close to that cap. I feel like it could be slipping away slowly. Jad El Caddy said, boys, please help. Do I bring in Flanders, Zorko, or Caldwell? Need a quality forward. Well, I think take your pick. I think all three. Do you boys go Caldwell for the value? Because Flanders is well over $1 million. Zorko's mid-900s. Do you go Caldwell this week and knowing that he's going to go up a lot more in the next few weeks, or are you still targeting a Flanders or Zorko?
So yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards a Caldwell. We've seen Zorko's probably scores drop off a little bit in the last couple of weeks, so it's probably a little bit overpriced. And I think also we've seen a role change with Flanders going into the midfield, which I think we might see a little bit like what we saw with Sheasel, like maybe off that halfback role they're kind of averaging more like a 110, 120. But when they move into the midfield, it's more of a 100, 105 or something like that. So I think. I just think you're going to lose a bit of money if you go towards Flanders or Zorko.
Yeah. Corey Badger's got a follow-up to his super chat. So he was obviously talking about before getting a forward like a Mackay or an Adams or someone in that 600K range. He said, thoughts on instead Nick Martin down to Tom Stewart and Frazier up to Rankin? I much prefer that.
That's aggressive. I like it.
Yeah. If you can get Myers, obviously I was saying before, I'd probably go Myers over Rankin just with the tags. But if Rankin
do we see the role sticking with Stewart?
I even if it doesn't, they've got a really good run coming up, and I don't know about tags. They've got Hawthorn into Collingwood, into the Bulldogs, then North Melbourne, Adelaide. So they've got and then Port. Then they got Frere. So their run is actually really good.
I put I meant to put a tweet out about Tom Stewart a week ago, and then I stopped because I just think no one cares, Jordan. No one has him. But as someone who had him for a couple of weeks, it was a very interesting pattern. 3 weeks in a row, at 3/4 time, he was on 70 odd. So 3 weeks in a row, he was on track for a 90 plus, maybe a ton. And for whatever reasons, a harder tag, a bit of a leg knock, he just scored nearly nothing in the last quarters for 3 quarters. So I guess my point of all that is, even if that role does change back to his halfback role, I think now with the tag, if someone's really clamping him, they can then push him back to the midfield. Or if he gets free run at the halfback, his scoring's been okay. So, that's my thoughts on the Stewart pickup.
Yeah. Power Prawn Star. I'm going Dunkley to Clary. I've got a feeling. Lol. Power Prawn Star obviously is one of the regular viewers of both these and the watch songs. He was saying about getting Clary. Mate, if you are serious, don't do it. But if you are joking, then there you go. But yeah,
Just be mindful of his run. Melbourne have a really, really tough run for inside minutes coming.
Exactly. Reed's got a question here, so obviously from the coach panel, friend of the show. Dunkley versus Luke Ryan this week. Tim, who are you going out of the two? Dunkley's got.
I'll talk about that. Have a look at how's Reed's going in the Content Creators Cup.
I'll have a look.
What was it, Dunkley and Ryan? I'd be going Dunkley
versus Ryan.
Just a little bit concerned about that role that we've seen from Ryan. So yeah, I'd be going Dunks. I mean, Dunks is also that kind of second banana. Is going to avoid the tag. So I'm not sure if there's too many tags coming Frio's way, but yeah, I feel a bit safer with Dunks.
And the question was specifically around this week. So 2 juicy matchups. Dunkley has Adelaide, the last game of the round at the Gabba. Ryan's got Richmond, who've been giving up a stack of points pretty much to all positions. So, yeah, this week maybe I'd lean towards Ryan, but overall I'd be much more comfortable having Dunks for the run home.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just laughing. I just saw a comment from Tony Ford. Like, geez, Tim makes some weird noises sometimes.
Mate, this is also why I don't want to be on video, right? Because I forget that I'm being like videoed, and I'll end up picking my nose or like walking away from the screen or, doing all sorts of shit. So it's just better if you can't see me and you can only imagine.
Not to mention the awkwardness around the full frontal nudity if you can.
Of course. We might end up with a hell of a lot more viewers.
Oh, mate,
all right, getting crazy. What's next?
There you go. Chris has got this question here. So, that's right. So this is Chris's follow-up from the super chat. So he said, my first trade was Harrison to Humphreys for Cash Gem. Was going to go Sexton to Rankin next week. So Chris's super chat, just to remind us, was about tick-off training Fish to get Zorko. Well, if you're getting Humphreys, if you're getting a basement rookie that plays this week instead of Humphreys gets you, who was it upgrading instead of?
So to go Sexton to Zork.
Yeah. Oh, Sexton to Zork instead of Fisher, then I'd be doing that. I'd be getting the basement rookie. I think it's the time of year we can start getting these basement rookies, I think. So I'd be doing that one there. Thomas Elliott says, is Simpkin a hold over Young, Sexton and Fisher? Well, actually, we'll quickly chat about Young. He's got a few good games, Tim, coming up, but is there any concern from you? Obviously, one poor score, but isn't that a poor score for a fair while? And are you concerned or are you just putting it down on a bad game?
I don't know about that when we say one poor score, right? Because I was having a little bit of a closer look at this, and he's averaged, 88 in his last 5 or something like that, which is, that's...
It's
you
down,
kind of... Yeah, and I think when I was looking at, so what is it, 88 in the last 5, 80 in the last 3, and when you look at defenders, we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you look at over the last 5 rounds, the top 6 have averaged 104 or more. So, you're losing, what's that? We're talking 16 points or something like that. So it's not, I think we're being a bit quick to, we're kind of safe in ownership and blah, blah, blah. Particularly, I guess, coaches that have got a pretty sorted team. Getting off Luke Ryan, I don't know would be such a bad option, although they do have a pretty good run coming, don't they?
Yeah, they got Richmond this week. Then they've also got Melbourne and Hawthorn in their next 2. And I mentioned with Brayshaw, they've also got West Coast, Essendon and Geelong, and then the 3 after that. So I just think with Young, you're probably holding with those matchups.
Chances are you've got bigger problems, haven't you?
Yeah. And that's why I was saying, so Thomas L was saying, do you trade Simpkin over a Young, a Sexton and a Fisher? And I think you probably do.
But who are you going to?
Well, depending, I don't have Thomas's team, but depending on who he's going to.
But that's the question, right? So it's got to be more than a 16-point upgrade. Otherwise, it is worthwhile looking at trading Young. What do we expect Simpson to score? 70s, something like that?
He could be 60 to 110. It could be anything.
Yeah. So
but even if you decided you have to trade someone else because you can't do anything with the Simpkin trade, so you say, yep, hold Simpkin, I'd still be holding Young and trading one of Sexton or Fisher. Yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying, and particularly in the backline, Tim. There's a lot of high performing guys back there, but you know,
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
I couldn't find a single
I think
player.
we're dismissing it a bit quickly, though. That's the thing. I think I've just
Well,
kind of noticed the conversation.
It's because
been quick to dismiss
it'd be if there was this abrupt role change that caused it. He just had an absolute stinker, and 37 is beyond stinky. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like every player is granted at least one mulligan particularly this year. I mean, find me a primo that hasn't dropped a score at some point that's made you go, like, how is that a $900 million guy? Like, it's been such a weird year.
Flanders is about probably one that comes to mind straight away.
Maybe Flanders.
Yeah.
And I was being very little.
And apart from
I
that,
was
what is
being
that? An 81 has been his lowest, right? So
yeah.
And I was being rhetorical,
Or in the
but
last
of course
10
you've
or
come up with a solid answer.
Sorry, mate. No, I know what you mean, but you look at Bont hadn't dropped a score below, I don't even know, like 60 for bloody years, and he drops to 53. Dawson hadn't gone below 70 at the Crows, and he drops
60s.
back to, he goes 260s this year. So I know exactly what you mean. It's been a very funny year where floor scores from players out of nowhere. Like, again, look at Houston on the weekend. St Kilda, brilliant matchup for defenders. He drops to 47. So it's one of those years that very funny things are happening. So, yeah. But Tony was just saying here as well with the Young, he said 37 from Young is an outlier that changed his last 3 and 5 averages a lot. He was pushed out of the midfield because they wanted Fife to run with Heaney/Warner. That isn't going to happen again. And it may not. And Fife could be the sub this week. He was a sub last time against Richmond. Even if he isn't, I think Young will respond. But no, it's a good point from that Tim is making, though, that I think because everyone's got him, maybe we're just going, oh, he's there. But I guess maybe a coach might jump. Like Mitch last week jumped off Nick Martin, who a few people mention it, but no one really did it. So you could work out for.
But that's not to go on and on, but that's a great example where Nick Martin, it's been coming for a few weeks because there has been a bit of a role change with Young. Unless you sat and watched that game and thought, oh, wow, his role has completely changed. So I don't want any part of that. I'm happy to just give him 1 week of, I don't know, maybe he just had the shits or something. Just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah. We've got a final question here, then we'll wrap up. But Tony did say, could Newman challenge Dacos for D1 for the rest of the season? I think he could. He did last year. I think he's potentially going to be a top 3 defender on the run home. So definitely something to note, but I think Dacos is still going to be D1. He's just too good.
For the consistency, but for ceiling, I mean, if Newman drops another couple of those scores, he could well be the number 1 average for sure.
I did think about this today, and I should have really looked. Wasn't it like the last 6 or 8 games last year? He averaged about 135.
Yeah, had a big finish.
Very, very good. And I think he had 4 scores in a row over 120 or something in a period, or 4 or 5 over 120. So, yeah, he was on fire and he looked very good on the weekend. And I would have had him if it wasn't for bloody Clayton Oliver the week before. But yeah, Harry Thomas, last question. My last rookie is Bruce Revel, and I can only reach 730K. Do I get Brian Myers or go Young to Caldwell and save 200K? Well, Tim, you were talking about Young. I think you got to go Revel to Myers, don't you, instead of Young to Caldwell?
I think so. Yeah. I think you got to get that rookie off field.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah, Jordox, you're in agreement there as well.
Yeah, although Reveal is starting to really get the scores, isn't he? Been a great pickup.
Yep, been very, very good. Be very handy for those coaches that have got him, be able to downgrade him, or if you upgrade him, he's at a decent price than what a lot of other rookies are. So, but yeah, boys, I reckon that'll do it. We're just about at the hour, so we'll wrap up now. But any thoughts on what you guys are doing with trades this week, Jordox? What are your thoughts with what you're looking at doing with your 2 trades?
Yeah, I had a good look today, and it was a little bit depressing, to be honest, because I didn't really plan, like I said. So I think at the moment,
I thought it was going to be upbeat. I had a bit of a look at it, and then you just like,
no. Usually I find something that and brings me out of the misery of the weekend, but no. Look, at first I wanted to do something with LDU. You know, there's guys in that area you could sideways, like a Brayshaw, like you said. Drop 50K, you go down to Miller, something like that. But essentially, I'm going to be trading out Harvey Harrison and Finn McRae. They're my most expensive cash cows. And I've got 96K. So I've pretty much got a 200K guy and a 660 spending. So I think based on, if Fisher plays and McKercher's in, I'll be going Harrison and McRae down to, what's that Geelong boy's name? Humphreys, was it?
Yeah, Humphreys, yep.
And McKercher. And that'll get my last kid off the field. The annoying thing about that is I'd love to loop a kid on Friday night, but it's just Harrison. That's all I've got. So
Sam Berry, bring him in.
Well, I could do LDU down to Sam Berry and then Harrison up to anyone. So
who knows? I just want you to bring Sam Berry just because you've been talking about it. So
it would be a fun way to finish the year. Imagine he goes on a tear and that's what brings me back up to top 1,000 or something. I'm
Tim,
joking.
Yeah, mate. So I'll be trading out. So I've still got a bloody healthy bench, right? I got green dots pretty much the whole way except for my ruck R3 position. I'm finally trading out Riley Sanders down to Lawson Humphreys, and then that'll take me from Jai Simpkin up to Nick Dacos. So I jumped off Dacos about a few weeks ago. I jumped off him to get onto Ryan. Yeah, through the buys to get onto Luke Ryan. I'm not. I should probably go back and check. I've probably made a little bit of money. Probably not much, but yeah, I've got to get back on. I need to bring obviously Dacos in, and I think Simpkin up to Dacos is a pretty bloody good upgrade.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Can't do much better than that, I don't think.
No.
And yeah, I'm doing pretty much exactly what I said on the Sunday one, because as Tim always says, I've got my trades done by Sunday. So yeah, I am going Jai Clark down to a 200k rook. Clay Hall's just sitting there at the moment, but it could be whoever's sort of named. Or I've got 211. So like if Zach Taylor plays, Will Lorenz looked pretty good in that last quarter. So if one of those guys get a full game, might bring on those in, and then going, what's his name? Toby Green all the way up to Andrew Brayshaw with that targeting that run there. But if Fish is out, might be able to go shopping for maybe a Dunkley or someone instead. But we'll see how that goes. But beautiful. Thanks everyone for tuning in, live, and especially those that sent through their questions through as well. And also just quick shout out again to Tim Ashworth, Chris, Corey Blackledge, and Kobe Pember for their super chats. Are very much appreciated there. If you guys do have an extra question, I mentioned it before, but head over to AFL Fantasy Fanatics. AFL Fantasy Fanatics, the Ask Me on Q link in the description below of the podcast and the video. Ask Me on Q, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. And yeah, make sure you guys hit up if you want to ask more questions there and get an audio response straight into your email box. But Jordox, mate, thanks very much for jumping on once again. Where can the people find you?
On X at Jordox 2020.
Beautiful, mate. Now go and follow Jordox. Tim, always say it. You say it again this time. Where can people find you?
Everywhere at Tim Guest AU.
Beautiful. And you can find me at Bales DT. If you're listening back to the pod, make sure you, if you can, be very so kind. If you can leave a 5-star rating and review, that'd be very much appreciated. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like the video. I'll be back for the usual content tomorrow with trade talk and captains and everything like that. But us, the Fantasy Fanatics, will see you guys for the pre-lockout chat on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. per time. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Good luck with your trades, and we'll chat to you guys later on the week. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
I did this last time, YouTube. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you smash a thumbs up on the video. Very much appreciate it. Let's get 100 likes on the video. Make sure you subscribe as well. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in.